All this week, we have been taking a look at the economic development prospect for nations in Africa. Leaders from almost every country on the continent have been attending the U.S.-Africa Leader Summit here in Washington, D.C. One of those leaders is Peter Mutharika, the man who has just been elected president of the country of Malawi. I had a chance to interview Mr. Mutharika, and I began by asking him how his 40 years in the United States as a university law professor have shaped his approach to leading one of Africa's poorest nations.
When you're a law professor, if you're a law, you tend to be, I think you look at things very closely and detail. And I think also it teaches you to have judgment, because law has technical aspects but also judgment. Being a law professor for such a long time, it gave me a sense of a balance between things. So I think to some extent it has helped, yeah.
The Malawian peacekeepers have been involved in what's going on in Congo and have actually recently been recognized by the Supervising Authority of the United Nations for their service to the peacekeeping mission there. Of course, you lost 4 soldiers, but what is your commitment to peacekeeping on the continent going forward?
Yeah, first of all, let me say I want to commend our soldiers. Malawi soldiers have always been very successful in peacekeeping all over Africa, in Ivory Coast, in Darfur, now DRC. They're among the best. We'll continue to contribute to peacekeeping as long as the United Nations wants us. It's part of our obligations as a state to contribute to peace in Africa. So we'll continue to contribute.
Let me move to investment. Your country currently has 13% of its GDP from investment. I imagine you'd like to see that grow. What steps are you taking to do so?
That's why we're here. I've met in the last 2 days many companies, investment companies in the power area, for example, in food, process, infrastructure, tourism. I'll be meeting tomorrow, I think, over 6 companies, and on Friday before I leave. Yeah, we want them to come. We will provide the incentives, we will provide the security. And
in terms of providing the regulatory framework, the level of governance that investors want to see, how are you tackling that?
First of all, we have one-stop center now, and you don't have to go to 5 or 6 offices with a license. We would like to reduce the period of getting a license from, say, 30 days to 5 days. If you are slow, they'll go somewhere else. So we'll make sure that we respond to these applications. I would like to reduce the period to 5 days, 5 working days, or even less.
We'll hold you to that, Mr. President.
The time you apply, the time you get the license.
Okay. I want to move to diplomatic relations with China. Malawi has had them since 2008, and your predecessors supported that relationship since then. What are you doing now? I know you just got into office, but what do you plan to do while in office to encourage more investment?
Investment of China is welcome. The Chinese have invested in the infrastructure, roads, university, a stadium, a hotel. The biggest investment in Africa, in Malawi so far, was $2 billion is from Brazil. You show the railroad line. For the BRICS, I negotiated that when I was Minister of Foreign Affairs.
The Brazilians have eclipsed the new and the old friends.
Not necessarily, not necessarily. It depends on how you look at it. If you look at infrastructure, this matter came up today. I think it was Museveni, President of Uganda, who said, look, you know, why don't you invest in big things like the Chinese, but you're doing the little things here and there. And I think the president responded very well to say, look, our investment, you know, it's hard to compare these things, because how do you compare a building, it's a apartment building, with somebody who's providing medicine to cure HIV patients, or malaria medication, or equipment for MRI or something like that? How do you compare the two? You really cannot.
I want to ask you about tourism. I know that your Minister of Tourism has taken a lot of steps to welcome South African visitors to Malawi, in terms of visas in particular. Can these types of strategies that you're currently employing to attract South African visitors work with other countries as well?
I think so. I think so. I think they can. I think we need better hotels. Because I know from people from Western countries, they look on the internet. If it's not a 5-star hotel, they don't go to that country. Well, we would like to put attachés, tourism, in the major markets, United Kingdom, United States, maybe China, India, and those places. You would have tourism attachés so they can tell our story.
Tell me about your expectations when you came to the U.S.-Africa Leader Summit and whether or not you've achieved what you want to achieve at this summit.
Our expectation is that, obviously the United States want to improve. There's no question in my mind that the president is completely committed to Africa.
Do you walk away, sir, with feeling like you learned something or
Yes.
you gained something, you met the people you needed to meet to
Indeed,
bring more investment to Malawi?
Indeed, I learned something. We were able to meet people I haven't met before, fellow African leaders. We were able to meet the president and some of his senior officials. We have learned a lot. It's clear that the commitment is there to help us in the area of power, for example. And the power is the key. You see, without power, there's no way our economies can expand.
Thank you once again for your time, sir.
Sure,
Appreciate
you're
it.
welcome. Thank you.